In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
So yes, as you can see by the title, I am black.
You are black, Stanley!
On top of that, yes, I did vote for Trump. I know, yes. I know. Why, oh, why would a black person vote for Donald Trump? Isn't that like voting against yourself, right? If you are a minority in any regard, meaning that you are not a white man, voting for a Republican, let alone Donald Trump, must mean the end of the world, right? Everything is coming to an end because I voted for Donald Trump. And you would think so because people I've talked to, a few of them have blocked me or, stopped talking to me because I didn't vote how they wanted me to vote, right? But this is not like a simple explanation as to why I did it. There's a lot to unpack here, but I just thought it was appropriate because it's midterm season. Plus, Donald Trump just announced that he was running again in 2024. So I'm thinking, what better time to say this than now? Plus, it just feels good to get off my chest, It feels weird. It feels like a bad word or like a bad phrase to say it. But, I mean, it's really not, right? But, yeah, I did. I voted for him in 2020. I wasn't old enough in 2016. But, I mean, honestly, I probably would have voted for him then. But there's like a couple of talking points that have come up in the arguments that I've had about why I voted for him or why anybody else would vote for him that's not a white man. And they all are so annoying, but they're worth talking about because that's how we progress, right? We have lost that art of talking to people, of being able to civilly disagree, right? That has gone out the window. So I'm going to try to bring it back. We're going to see how this goes. So point number one that people have tried to make to me before is that guys like Joe Biden or women like Hillary Clinton, they occupy the moral high ground over Donald Trump. Therefore, if you vote for Donald Trump, you are immoral. And if you vote for these people, then you are on that same moral high ground as them. Even Hillary mentioned it during the debates about how Donald Trump doesn't have the temperament to be president, right? And then if you ask a bunch of other people, they'll call Donald Trump a racist or a sexist or a homophobe or all these things. And if you voted for him, that makes you that too. Because number one, we live in a world in which you disagree with someone, you call them a bunch of names. And number two, if you vote for someone, you have to agree with everything that they say or that they believe in because that's just how it is. It's just easier for people to label you things if they rationalize it that way in their mind. That, oh, you voted for Donald Trump, that means you agree with everything he's ever said, and that means you agree with everything he's ever done. Well, the answer to that is no. And if you believe that, right, if you voted for Joe Biden and you just think that that man is God and that he can do no wrong, please get that checked out. But like I said, it's funny that people think that politicians occupy the moral high ground over others, especially if they're either older and or career politicians. It is very, very weird because no, they don't. They're all politicians. So no one occupies the moral high ground. They all got dirt, skeletons in their closet. They've all said some messed up stuff. So to try to argue that one candidate is better than the other because one is up here and one is down here, that's weird, right? Because they're all on the same level, in my opinion. Trump has said some effed up stuff. Joe Biden has said some effed up stuff. And they've both done some effed up stuff in their own respective rights. So I don't even know why that's a conversation. Because you can't call Donald Trump a racist without calling Joe Biden a racist, right? People think that white people saying the N-word, period, even if you're quoting someone, is racist. Joe Biden has said the N-word in a hearing multiple times. He also described predominantly black people as predators when he was advocating for the 1993 crime bill. So you can't say that Trump is a racist without saying that Joe Biden is a racist. So that's done right there, right? You don't even got to talk about that anymore. And it's constant as the list goes on. You can't say that Trump is a homophobe without saying that Biden is a homophobe. And I'll get to that one in a second. But I've just done like a little experiment with people, right? Where they'll tell me that Trump is all these things. And I'll just say, name me one thing that he said that makes him that. Objectively, right? Where we look at the dictionary definition of what this word means and what he said applies to that. I can never get an answer. Now, I'm not saying that he's never said X, Y, or Z. I'm just saying that in the conversations that I have had, no one can seem to give me that answer. So I just find that funny, but whatever, right? Like I said, I see almost all these politicians in the same light because they prove it time and time and again that being a politician, right, yields a certain type of character. And my favorite one, you can't say that Donald Trump is arrogant, or whatever people are calling him, without saying that Biden is the exact same. The idea is that for the past 60 to 70 years, Democrats have had the black vote unequivocally. They don't have to work for it. They just wake up and we vote for them because we're black. And don't take it from me, right? Take it from the president of the United States himself.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
All right, this white guy is questioning my blackness and the blackness of everybody else. If we are skeptical of him and might want to vote for Donald Trump, or if we have questions or concerns about things that might make us apprehensive to vote for him, well, if we don't know if we want to vote for him or Trump, then we ain't black. Right? And when he said that, I'm thinking, okay, here come the hounds, right? They're coming out, right? They're gonna get on his case about it. Crickets. I heard virtually nothing because people didn't want to be like, like we're in a sticky situation because I want to vote for, but I don't want to vote for Donald Trump, right? I want to vote for Joe Biden, kind of. So I'll give him a pass on this one, even though he just said something that is super insensitive, but I mean, just kind of spits in our face and we just accept it, right? We take it, we rub it in, because he just basically said that we own you guys, we own your vote, and we're going to continue to do that, right? And watch when you guys prove me right after I win this election. What happens? More people have voted in this past election than ever before. Bam, we just proved them right. So they're all in the same boat, in my opinion, right? So arguing moral high ground is the most hilarious thing I've ever heard because it just doesn't make sense. The second leg of the argument is that I'm black, so I have to vote Democrat, meaning that if I vote for a Republican, especially Donald Trump, Celebrity Apprentice,
You're fired.
WWE superstar, orange mean person,
Well, we have some of the dumbest leaders in the world.
voting for him is voting against myself, or a vote for him is a vote against one of my friends, right? That's what put me on the block list for somebody else, is because I voted for him, I voted against them, as if I went to the polls and said, what can I do here that will spite this individual? Right? Because I go to the polls thinking about my friends instead of my self-interest and how I feel this president will deliver on all those fronts, right? The arrogance in that is hilarious, but whatever. But a vote for him is a vote against myself. And the world champion for telling people that they vote against themselves is Sunny Hostin, who is a host on The View. She is notorious for telling people that they vote against themselves if they vote Republican. So I just want you to listen to this, right? Because she says it a lot worse than I just described it. She says something that's completely disgusting, and she sounds very silly when she says it because she doesn't recognize what she's saying entirely. But I'll just let you listen to this. Sunny Hostin, take it away.
I read a poll just yesterday that white Republican suburban women are now going to vote Republican.
Why?
It's almost like roaches voting for Raid, right? It's
I think
like
that's
they're voting.
No, it's
They're
insulting
voting
to the voter.
They're voting against their own self-interest. Do they want to live in Gilead?
Okay,
do they
so
want to live in the hands?
Do we love
Hell?
democracy or not? Because just saying that it's insulting to the voter. People make up decisions on what's right for their family, and the idea that you should have a say for everyone else's vote.
The fact that women are voting against
You had a different view on abortion not that long ago, and you
I
evolved
have
on it.
that view.
So not only is that completely insensitive and insulting, comparing white women who vote Republican to roaches voting for Raid, but she is so blinded by the stupidity of her statement that she doesn't even realize what she said. She said, I can't believe that white Republican suburban women are now voting Republican. Well, if they were Republican, obviously they're going to vote Republican. Like what? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like now they're voting Republican? Well, duh, because they're Republican. But she's so looped up in this hate-filled thought process, right? And this weird sense of self-righteousness and feeling of being omniscient that she just knows everything. She knows what people's self-interest are, right? And is justified in comparing them to roaches because they don't vote for who she wants them to vote for. It is crazy, and I can't stand that. Because in reality, no, you're not omniscient. You're not all-knowing. You don't know what my self-interests are. You don't know how I grew up. You don't know what my current life situation is right now. You don't know how I felt about the last administration. You don't know about any of this. Now, as a black person, right, and I feel like black people as a whole, we don't want people making statements about us that like we'll deem as racist because they are making blanket statements. Yet a black woman can get on TV and say that white women who vote Republican are roaches voting for Raid. Like, get out of here, bro. Right? It's a silly argument, but the irony of it is where it always makes me laugh, right? Irony is so hilarious because it shows up in so many aspects of our life. So let's go along with it, right? I'm black and I voted for Donald Trump in 2020. That makes me crazy because I'm voting against myself.
I'm crazy.
But let's say that someone votes for Joe Biden, right? And let's just say that that person just so happens to be a part of the LGBTQ community. Well, the current president of the United States has been on record talking about how he disagrees with gay marriage. Take a listen.
Radio address yesterday and tomorrow in the Rose Garden to talk about a constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage.
You know, think about this. The world's going to Hades in a handbasket. We are desperately concerned about the circumstance relating to avian flu. We don't have enough vaccines. We don't have enough police officers. And we're going to debate the next 3 weeks, I'm told, gay marriage, a flag amendment, and God only knows what else. I can't believe the American people can't see through this. We already have a law, the Defense of Marriage Act, where we've all voted, not where I voted and others said, look, marriage is between a man and a woman, and states must respect that. Nobody's violated that law. There's been no challenge to that law. Why do we need a constitutional amendment? Marriage is between a man and a woman. What's the game going on here?
So does that mean that you're voting against yourself? If you identify with that community, if you are a part of that community, have you not voted against yourself? Wait, Josh, right? That was years ago, so he could have changed his position. Well, Joe Biden is talking from a place of faith, right? Religion. Joe Biden is a Catholic. Not once, at least to my knowledge, has he denounced his religion since then. And you don't pick and choose which parts of it you want to abide by. It's an all-inclusive package, which means that if you practice this faith and you do it the right way, you are all in. And since he hasn't denounced his religion, not once have I seen him say, hey guys, I'm an atheist now. What seems like a more logical explanation is that Joe Biden, who's just like every other politician in Washington, D.C. and all across this country, really all around the world, because he wants power, he's going to flip on a dime. He's going to tell people what they want to hear. Now, to me, that looks like a person who has no integrity on that front, meaning that if people disagree with you on a certain topic, in order to win them over, you're going to change your stance to please them just to get into office. So you either voted against yourself or you voted for someone who has no integrity on the situation to say, you know what, even if it's an unpopular opinion, I stand on it because those are my beliefs. So it's one or the other. But like I said, ironic, right? I voted against myself, but this is out there and the man is in office and I can't do anything but laugh, right? Because I'm still waiting to go back to Africa. I voted against myself and this dude he's going to deport us all. I'm waiting to go back, right? I mean, he has had his term, lost. We're halfway through the next term, and he's announced his candidacy again, yet I thought I was going to get deported back in 2016, right? I'm still waiting. So I guess we'll see. I'll brace myself for 2024 if he wins and I get put back on a boat to the motherland. But I just found that to be quite amusing, right? Please don't go around telling people that they're voting against themselves. You don't know what their personal lives are about. You don't know how they grew up. So you don't know what interests, right, they have. You don't know what concerns they have. And although you don't vote for these politicians because you believe that they're going to save the world and that they're going to fix every problem, you say, hey, I really only have two options, Republican or Democrat. Who do I feel is going to deliver on my concerns the best? And you go with that. Moving on. Last point, last leg of this argument is the issue of capitalism versus socialism. Capitalism is associated with Republicans. Socialism is associated with Democrats. Now, I don't have an inherent dislike for socialism for what it is. My frustration comes from how governments abuse it. I don't like the idea that someone would turn down medical treatment or giving birth to their child in a hospital because they don't want to have to foot the bill because they can't afford it. Right? I don't like that idea. Imagine if your house was on fire and the fire department came and they said, hey, before we put it out, there's going to be $5,000. Or after we put it out, we'll send you a bill for $5,000 for our service. That would be horrible, right? So the same thing applies to the medical world as well, right? Where if someone needs medical treatment and they turn it down or they can't get their medication because it's too expensive, it is horrible. But the issue with things like socialism, and then you upgrade to communism and all of these other horrible regimes, is that when you give groups or people an inch, they take a mile. And then they just don't stop. So it has very little to do with what socialism can do for people, but really everything to do with the fact that it involves government control and huge government oversight, meaning that once they get their foot in the door, they're going to kick that mug in. And they are going to set up shop, and they are going to continue to grow, and they're going to find the pressure points of society, and they're going to press on them because they know that that's where people are most vulnerable. They know that at that point, people are willing to give in, give up certain freedoms, right? Forego any personal responsibility to rely on the government for your health, for your safety, for your financial situation. And me personally, I don't like that, right? I think that there needs to be a balance where the government is there to provide oversight, but they aren't so aggressive that it feels like they are rooted in every aspect of my life. And that's what they tend to do. I won't go into specifics because you know how the internet is now. But just look over the past 1 to 2 years, right? We had a major world situation happen, and the Biden administration went to work to try to force people to do a certain thing that I won't name, but you know what it is. And it was like the craziest thing ever. That instead of just allowing people to make decisions that are best for them and their families, they said, F that. We're the government. We're here. We're going to use our power and our control to force ourselves upon you and make you do something that we want you to do, even if you don't want to do it, because who cares, right? I don't like that. But on top of that, right, what capitalism has taught me through all its flaws, because it's not a perfect system, right? Not only has it taught me responsibility and to take control of my life, but it has taught me not to blame white people for everything. Now, I'm no stranger to the socioeconomic state of the black community and how segregation and racism and slavery and discrimination have contributed to that, right? Those things of the 20th and the 19th and the 18th century and before then, I'm no stranger to how they have contributed to the current socioeconomic state of the black community today. But what I do know is that technically we are free enough to forge our own path, better than it has been ever in human history, right? It's not easy. And I'm not saying that, but it's possible. And that's all I've ever wanted. I don't want reparations. I've only wanted an opportunity, a chance. Even if my path will be a little bit more difficult than the person next to me, as long as I have the opportunity to make something of myself, I'm good, man. I'll take care of the rest. You ain't got to worry about me. Because I never met a person who spent their whole life blaming white people for everything and looked at them and said, man, that is a happy person. It's just always anger and frustration. I don't want to live my life like that. And the frustration that black people as a whole have toward white people is directed at the wrong white people. You're mad at your neighbor, the person who lives next door to you because they're white. If you really want to direct your anger towards someone, look at these people who run corporations, who manipulate you into buying their designer clothes or bags or shoes instead of buying some real estate or investing your money or starting a business. We make up 13% of the American population, yet we are like the number one consumer in this country. And the majority of the stuff we buy is crap. A lot of it is owned by white people. Maybe you should be mad at those people. Not the everyday white person that you see walking past you in a grocery store or who lives next door to you or who you work with. Because those people have been forced to feel sorry and feel bad for being white. They got to tiptoe around black people because if they say one thing that's wrong, it's over with for them. If they show any pride in being white, it's over for them. If they try to retaliate from black people saying bad things about them, it's over with them. Which brings me to my next point. There's this idea that us as black people, we can't be racist. That's crazy. That's a lie. It's a myth. We can be racist. Anybody on this planet can be racist. But because society has made it okay for us to say anything that we want to white people with no repercussions, we run with it. And once again, white people can't retaliate because they will get in trouble for it. All right. Now, the business owners, they're willing to forego not being able to say the N-word. They're willing to take all heat from any black person because they're focused on the real stuff, making money, while they manipulate us into going into the streets and waves and burning down our already run down neighborhoods, some of them, because a white person said something mean to us or said the N-word or whatever the case may be. Like I said before, I've talked about that before. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but you get my point. They are focused on those things. We're focused on these things. And those caught in the figurative crossfire are your everyday white person that you see in passing. But we can be racist to them with impunity. And once again, don't take my word for it. Take the word of this gentleman right here. This gentleman is filled with so much hatred in his heart. I don't know what his life experiences have been, but I just know that he does not like white people, and he does not hold his tongue in expressing that. I thought that this video was a joke until I went on his page and saw that it wasn't a joke. And it just confirmed to me that the internet is okay with this type of content, because I had a video be taken down basically for saying that anybody can be racist. It doesn't matter what skin color you are, what your race is. It got taken down for like harassment and bullying, which is beyond me. But this gentleman's content is still on the internet. Now, I'm not a proponent of cancellation, so I'm not alluding to that. What I'm alluding to is, hey, let's all love each other, right? Despite our differences, let's all love each other. This guy clearly is not down with that. But once again, don't take it from me. Let's hear what he has to say.
I call y'all white people for what I see y'all. Y'all are devils. Y'all are parasites. Y'all are mosquitoes. And when you look at a mosquito, you see that mosquitoes latch onto other life forms, drain the blood from that life form to get nutrients so it can power itself. That's exactly what y'all are, because every single thing that y'all do is to drain the life out of everything. And when we look at the advent of y'all devils, since the moment y'all were created, y'all have caused destruction, chaos, and deception on our earth. When we welcome y'all in to our kingdoms, our lands, as eternal people, what did y'all do? Y'all came in, y'all caused destruction, y'all caused altercations amongst us as a people and amongst our civilization. Therefore, we banish y'all, we exiled y'all from the kingdom. This is the true story of the Garden of Eden.
Two things. Number one, I feel like somebody should tell him that it wasn't just white people who engaged in the buying and selling of slaves. I said this before. Prominent black people have no problem selling out other black people as long as they get paid. So trust and believe that there have been black people who have bought and sold slaves. It's a problem that a lot of people have had their hand in. Number two, I guess I should probably call my white grandma and tell her that she's a mosquito. Hello? Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that you're a mosquito. But this is absolutely horrible, right? This guy is saying some really messed up stuff, and if he was white and was saying this stuff, people would call him a racist before the video was even uploaded. They'd sense it from about 1,000 miles away. So it's absolutely horrible. And I don't like racism, period. I don't like when black people do it. I don't like when white people do it. I also don't like the fact that we just kind of forget that Asian people live here, Hispanic people live here. All different kinds of people live here, and we just exclude them from any conversation whatsoever. But anybody can be racist. Trust and believe that, and don't let people like this, number one, bring you down, and number two, trick you into believing that what he's saying is justified or appropriate. And the thing that topped it all off for me and voted for Trump is, at the end of the day, he didn't start off as a politician, right? Even though he's kind of got into that wave now, and he even said that he doesn't like being called that, so I understand it from that perspective, but he didn't start off that way, right? He basically came in the game and said that everything that you think we're doing,
we are doing everything that you think we are doing.
We're doing it.
Inside of that house.
You point at me and say, I didn't pay my taxes.
She said, this man doesn't pay his taxes.
Well, guess what? You're not going to change the tax code, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama.
If you want me to pay my taxes, then change the tax code.
Because the people you're in bed with, they benefit from it. And you do as well.
But I know you won't. Because your friends and your donors enjoy the same tax breaks that I do.
I'm just the first one to admit it.
And with that, my friends, a star was born.
And that sold me, because any grimy thing that Trump does, he's saying, hell yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it because, number one, they're all doing it. And number two, they're allowing me to do it. Because if they put a law in place that says you can't do that, that hurts them as well. And no one can argue me on that. And at the end of the day, like I said, I just felt the need to break free from, all these weird boxes that society puts you in, right? I'm not a fan of white people feeling sorry for me. I'm not a fan of, especially like white leftists, such a weird term, but white leftists portraying their white guilt, right? And just allowing me to run all over them or do whatever it is that I want. I don't like that, right? If you have it, keep it, right? Keep that white guilt. I'm not telling you to be sorry for being white. In a common trend that I've seen with black people that I have talked to or that have interacted with me since I started doing this about a year and a half ago was that I'm looking for white validation from white people, right? And that I just enjoy dogging black people because of some weird reason. Right? Number one, like I said, I just call a spade a spade. If I see a black person being racist, I'm going to call it out, not because I'm looking for white validation, but number one, 99% of the content that I see is people talking about how racist white people are. You don't need another person talking about that. But what you do need is somebody who's going to call it how it is. Because black people can be racist as well as any other group of people, I'm going to call that out because it's not okay. And because I am black, yes, I have white people in my family, but you look at me, I'm black, right? What I say is a representation of this community, in my opinion. Right? And if you have kids, you're not going to coddle them every single second of their life because then they're going to go out into the world and they're going to get eaten alive because they don't have any toughness to them or they feel like they can just do whatever they want and that the world is just going to bow at their feet because they haven't been hit with reality. The reason I go hard whenever I talk about this stuff is because I see so much more for black people, right? Humanity as a whole, yes, but specifically for black people, I see so much for us, but I think to unlock that potential, now that we are free, it requires somebody who's willing to talk about the hard stuff and to put a mirror in front of our community and show us all of the less than stellar parts of it, right? Parts that we can take accountability for. So, hell yeah, if I see another black person being racist, I'm going to call it out because we don't progress like that, right? We regress. Because we don't want white people to do it to us. So why would we do it to them? It's as simple as that. So at the end of the day, vote for who you want to vote for, right? Don't listen to these people, right? Trying to guilt trip you into saying that you're voting against yourself, basically implying that you are so stupid that you'd vote deliberately against your own self-interest. That's insulting. Don't listen to those people, right? They clearly need help. They need a little bit of love in their life because obviously they're lacking it or else they wouldn't say something so ignorant. All right, number two, break out of these boxes, right? These echo chambers, if you will. Just because you're black does not mean you have to vote Democrat. Just because you're white does not mean you have to vote Republican. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. Just because you're rich doesn't mean you have to vote Republican. Like, vote for who you want to vote for, but do the research. If you want to vote for Joe Biden, fantastic. He won, right? Clearly. So a lot of people voted for him. But do the research. If you want to vote for him, that's fine. If I don't vote for him, oh well. And if he wins, it sucks, but life moves on, right? But don't shame people for voting for Donald Trump or anybody else just because you don't like them or the person that they voted for. Because at the end of the day, these are politicians we're talking about. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. Maybe a slither of a part that's inside of them actually does, but for the most part, they look out for themselves, man. It's just a part of their job description to acknowledge constituents. So if you abandon friendships or you block people who you have known for years and years because they didn't vote for the same person as you, you might want to rethink how invested you are into these people who you have never met before a day in your life and who will lie to your face in an instant just to get your vote. Because trust and believe, these people 9 times out of 10 will work harder on the campaign trail than they will when they get elected. It's as simple as that. But with that being said, because he has thrown his hat in the race again for 2024, if the candidates are the same as they have been for the last 2 cycles, or they are very similar, Trump 2024.